And hopefully this Vistro network looks familiar because I took it from the vSUM network that Adam just showed to get started with Vistro. So again, there's different perspectives between planners and engineers. Engineers will tend to go to more details within the intersection than the planners in a lot of cases. So what I did within this Vistro model was really pay attention to geometries, turn lane lengths, signal timings, things like this. And I cleaned up the network as well as performed a trip generation for the proposed scenario. I have two scenarios. One is existing, one is proposed. You're currently seeing the proposed. I did a trip generation with two sites. 20 here, zone 20 is high-rise apartments. It's quite large apartment complex, generating 480 trips during the peak period. And 21 is a large sit-down restaurant. So again, I think it's quite big, but it's only generating 77 trips in the peak hour. So maybe it's not that big. But yeah, we have two different land uses here. And I distributed traffic assignment in the proposed condition here, in the proposed scenario. And I've also sent the trips using the trip assignments, so you can kind of see the paths that they're taking within the Vistro network, as well as the trip distribution. You can see maybe the arrows leading from the zones to the gates. So this is all fine and well within Vistro, but in dashboards, all of this stuff starts coming alive, and I'll show that in 1 second. However, one big problem, so I can say as the editor here, oh yeah, I've done all of these changes to my Vistro network, but who really knows what I did, right? Again, going into models, I can select the Vistro model and I can see all of the revisions that I've done within my Vistro model. I started with just, looking at the base model. I fixed up some geometry. I fixed up some freeway stuff and interchanges. And you can kind of see how I'm going through the model, like in these logical steps and saving a revision as I go. So I did some balancing, I set up coordination groups, and I went down through the chirp generation stuff and eventually got to the end of it. So someone can go back in and actually see all of these things. And if they wanted to, like Adam said, you can open each individual revision and specifically see what was changed within that revision. So revisions and model management is pretty cool. Going back to the Vistro network, similarly to what Adam showed, you go to File, Export, Dashboards to export the data out to dashboards. Please pay attention to which scenario is active. It's going to pull the scenario data for the active scenario. So again, File, Export, Dashboards. It pulls up a very similar dialog where I can select the subscription, the workspace, and then I can select where do I want to store the data. So I have a PM and I have a PM with my development. And then I would just click on this and hit export, and then that data gets sent to PTV Hub. On the dashboard side, we're in the dashboards app here. You can see the lists of all the dashboards we have for our presentation today. Again, I can search by Vistro, and it shows the 3 dashboards that I want to show you today. For the sake of time, I already have them preloaded here. So the first one I want to show you is showing flow bundles and net site trips. So if you really need to explain your data to someone, what's the impacts of the flow bundles going to and from these zones, you can do that with this map on the left. You can toggle between the high-rise apartments, which is showing right now, or the flow bundles that are being created from the restaurant. So really the restaurant's not adding that many trips, But you can see with the high-rise apartments, there's a lot of trips, especially around the interchange and freeway area. Also, you can set these filters for this. These filters are set up for the net site trips over for the map on the right side. And so I can basically develop a scope of maybe I only want to see what trips are between 100 to 250. So right now you can see these are the trips between 100 and 250 within my network. Or maybe some trips between 50 and 100. And you can see the trips between 50 and 100 here. So it's really cool to set up these filters and be able to dive into the data. So that's flow bundles. Also, you can click on nodes within the maps and get a lot of details such as trip generation data that provide additional context to what you're trying to show. My next dashboard that I set up, again, I was saying this is, it gets really exciting on the dashboard side for Vistro. We're showing origin destination data within on a map. So this is really cool to be able to see all of the gates that are in red, and then again, the two zones here that are in blue and green for the high-rise apartments and the large restaurants. And you can see which destination centers are providing the most trips. In this case, again, it's the freeway. It makes sense being so close to the interchange. So it's another way to explore the data. I can also add tables. So basically, I've added this same trip generation table from the Vistro side, but I've kind of mocked it up now on the dashboard side of things. So you're seeing the land use variables, the trips in and out, internal capture percentage, all of those fun details. And I now have a table on the top right for OD pairs. So I can see the different OD pairs here. Again, I have filters. All I have to do is turn these on with the toggle, and I can filter basically the information between what's going to and from the high-rise apartment or the restaurant. And you can see that the OD pair table is now updating based on what I'm selecting. So it's interactive. Finally, the last dashboard that I want to show before I hand it back over is level of service dashboard. I can take the intersection level of service data and put it onto a map. I can color code it. Obviously, in this case, red is bad. So this intersection here has 212 seconds of delay, which is actually really bad. And you can see all the information about this delay. You can see the stops. You can see the vehicle miles traveled, et cetera. Also, you can put in some aggregate information. So I can see basically the percentage of all of the signalized intersections and what their level of services are within my network. So it provides some sort of network performance. I can also get some like average delay performance across the network for signalized intersections. And I can summarize maybe some emissions and see where, you know, there's emission problems, things like that. There are filters again. I did this just to demonstrate that you can filter between control types. So right now we're showing the signalized, but if I go to roundabout, you can see that I've added 2 roundabout intersections. I don't think I have really any volumes assigned to it, so that's why it's operating quite well. And it's the same thing, I can look at two-way intersections, so two-way stop controls, and even filter through those. If you're listening, we can add the worst movement, so you can see the worst movement delay that would be calculated for this, but you can also see the intersection delay, so the average. So you're able to add 2 different KPIs and 2 different delay types to two-way stop control at intersections, which is cool. Also, I have scenario management, similar to what Adam was showing. Let me turn this off. So you can see the changes between the existing PM. Yeah, let's make sure we're on Signalize, and the development. There's not much changes, but you can see that some of the colors flip-flop. You can also see that, you know, some of the shares of level of service across the network flip-flops. You do have the capability as well as honing in on information per intersection. So if I turn this filter on and go to Archer at 34th Street, this is the one that was performing very badly. I can isolate it and see what the information is at that particular intersection. One last thing that I want to explain, if you're an editor or viewer invited to the subscription, you can always log in. So I'm going to sign in to this dashboard because I have access. I'm going to cancel the changes. I can now add comments to the dashboard. So again, for this really bad intersection, if that's not acceptable to me as an agency, and I'm doing the review of this dashboard, I can click comment and say, wow, this is really high. Please mitigate. And then I can send that comment for the modeler to see and look at. You can see a comment bubble. You can see that it's in the comment side pane. If I want to reply to this comment as the modeler, I'll say, yeah, it is. I'll fix it. And then you can go on and on with the comment thread and eventually resolve the thread if the changes are acceptable to you. So this is how comments will work within the dashboard itself. All right, so that's the Vistro portion. I wanted to keep it really short, but we'll jump back into Adam so he can go over Visum.